Welcome everyone to the Brass Spring 2023 Online Symposium. I am Angel Truesdale, the Chair of the Business Reference and Academics Libraries Committee for Brass and the Chair of the Symposium Subcommittee. Thank you to our subcommittee, Christy Cunningham, Brian Garrison, and Christine Pollock. All sessions will be recorded and sent out to those who have registered. Please mute your audio and video as we get started. Thank you for spending your time with us today and our presenters. Now I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Christy, to get us started.
Good afternoon or morning, depending upon where you are. I want to also welcome you to the Spring Brass Symposium. We have 4 sessions lined up. The first 2 are today, the second 2 are tomorrow. You use the same Zoom link for all sessions. And as Angel just said, we are recording these. We'll send those out, and any materials that the presenters want to share will also have in that same file when we share them. So now that all the housekeeping is done, I'm ready to introduce our speakers. We have Nora McKenzie and Melissa Anderson-Straight from Emory University. They will be taking some questions throughout the presentation, but they also will save some for the end. So I'll kind of be watching that. They are going to be using some poll everywhere, I think. And so I just want to warn you so you're ready to join in the fun. And now take it away, Nora and Melissa.
All right, thank you so much. Let me go ahead and share my screen and just make sure that everybody can see everything. Can you see my screen okay, everyone? All right, perfect.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Connect the One-Offs, establishing semester-long touch points with international students for course and career success. And you are joined today by 2 business librarians from Emory University. I'm Melissa Anderson-Straight, and I joined Emory back in 2005. We're a team of 5 business librarians, so of course we all wear many hats. But one of my roles, especially as it responds to this presentation, is I'm the liaison to Goizueta's Career Management Center. And I work with all of our MBAs, our working professionals, the specialty master's programs, all of those graduate students.
And I'm Nora McKenzie. I'm one of the other 5 business librarians at Emory University's Goizueta Business Library. I started at Emory in January of 2018. And while Melissa is the liaison to our Graduate Career Management Center, I am the liaison to our BBA graduate, or just BBA, not graduate, BBA Career Management Center. So working with those undergrads. And I just wanted to say just real quickly, I think like Christy mentioned, if you have questions along the way, we're going to keep an eye on the chat. If they're quick questions, we'll answer them as we go. But otherwise, we might save some of those bigger ones for the end, just to make sure that we're spending enough time on everybody. So today we have a lofty agenda, as often we do. We're hoping that you'll be able to gather some tips and tricks, successes, and learn some lessons learned that we've learned as we've been going through this process, and really that you'll be able to strategize some opportunities for engaging with international students at your own institutions after you've seen what we've chatted through today. So we have 3 learning outcomes that we're hoping by the end of the session we've been able to accomplish. The first is that we hope you'll be able to learn some ways to scaffold on-demand and synchronous tools to support international students across multiple learning styles, that you'll have the opportunity to strategize partnerships with various departments across the university that engage with international students and maximize those connection points, and that you'll be able to share and discuss a few methods for establishing touch points throughout the semester to build connections with your international students as well. So lots we're hoping to accomplish in a short amount of time, but I have confidence we can make it happen. So just a little level setting and background information about the cohort of students that we work with, the international students specifically at Goizueta. So as Melissa mentioned, we have many different programs, including both working professionals and specialty master's programs as well. But the 2 that we're focusing on today for our purposes are our BBAs and our 2-year full-time MBA students, because those are the programs we've been working with probably the longest. So you can see a little bit about our class profile for each of those groups. We have about 528 students in our BBA class profile. These were the numbers pulled from 2022, and about a quarter of them are international students. And then for our full-time MBA students, we have somewhere between 110 and 150. They gave us a range on the website, students in each of those cohorts, and half of them are actually international students. So our students are coming from all over the United States, but they're also coming from all over the world, many different countries. And one thing that we've definitely noticed, as time has gone on, is that even our students who are coming from very far away, oftentimes they want to stay in the United States after they graduate, which means, of course, that there are a few additional hurdles that they have to face as they're working through and trying to pursue some career opportunities. So we grabbed a couple maps from the employment reports from both the BBA and the full-time MBA from the past year. So you can see a little bit of where our students are ending up post-graduation. And you'll see we have really high concentrations for our placement, both in the Northeast, so New York, East Coast area, and then also in around the Atlanta area, so in the South as well. And this is fairly representative of where a lot of our students have been ending up over the years. But again, this is just the poll from the last year, so a nice screenshot there. And of course, our students, not only are they competing with each other as other international students for some of these really highly coveted positions, but they're also competing against all of their other peers, both at Goizueta and across all of y'all's business schools as well, to find these positions. And again, with that additional hurdle of needing the H-1B visa in order to step into those career opportunities. So when we're working with them, and as we mentioned, you might have seen in the abstract, we've really been working hard to scaffold our interactions, our touch points with these students. So we're not just meeting them one time in the semester and then never again, but it's really a series of sessions, a series of engagements that build on each other. So the first time that we really get introduced to our BBA international students and MBA international students is through their onboarding. They have two separate onboarding for the international students. The first is this high-level overview that everybody goes through during their first couple weeks on campus. So they're in a cohort with all their fellow MBA and BBA students. And this is really where we start to establish the very beginnings of our relationship. Usually those orientations, again, very, very high level. We might not have a huge amount of time to chat with them. And our goal there is really to start to establish the relationship, get them to know our faces, and get them to understand that, we're there to help them through this process. And at those orientations, we usually are partnered with our BBA and our MBA program offices for presenting other components of the agenda and other parts of their orientation. But again, still just level setting. This is the library. These are the folks who can work with you. Then we do offer a targeted international student orientation, both for our MBAs and our BBA students. And this is where we start to get a little bit deeper, but again, keeping it very high level. They get to meet us and engage with us kind of from the perspective as an international student and establish some expectations for how to engage with the library. And we also get to partner at this targeted international student orientation with some other key stakeholders on campus to really showcase some of the resources and services that will specifically help these students as they're pursuing their academic journey, but also, preparing them for their career journey as well. So you can see a few examples of some of the folks that we partnered with in our last few orientations. We have the International Student and Scholar Services at Emory, and then also the Career Management Center. They both share other things about what will be helpful for our international students during that orientation. And we begin as the library to start to showcase some of the resources that they'll be able to use, as they're pursuing their careers. And it seems very early days, they've only been on campus for maybe a week or two by the time we're doing this orientation, but already the question of how do I find companies that sponsor is very top of mind. So we start to kind of tease out and showcase some of those resources, again, at quite a high level. For both of these orientations, they're very much lecture style, information sharing types of orientations, not super highly interactive, more just, level setting for all of the different students, what is available to them, and, kind of the purpose of each different center and department and how they can help support the students. So it's a really nice initial touch point as we start to build our relationship and develop into future opportunities for engagement.
Absolutely. And one of those future opportunities is really driving down past that initial orientation. We know that first week, it's information overload. So many resources, so many different things available to the students. And we tell them, hey, come back, there will be more. That's part of the message. And one of those, there's more options, is a targeted workshop. And we offer this for both our BBAs and our MBAs, but locate companies that sponsor H-1B visas. And the reality is they have an extra hurdle. You do have to filter that list by companies that are willing to sponsor. So instead of trying to push that down, we really try to address it head on. Let's go in, let's look at that list, and then let's start filtering from there. With these classes, you can see we start building, what is that H-1B sponsorship history? Let's look at some of those companies. The good news is a lot of times students, they've spot checked 3 or 4 companies, they find out they don't sponsor, there's disappointment. It can really kind of slow down the motivation to actively stay in job search mode. So going in, building that list, saying that, yes, there are a lot of companies out there. So let's filter by that, and then continuing to build a custom list, make connections, just like any other successful job search. With these classes, as Nora mentioned, the orientations, the onboarding lectures, those can be a little bit more just providing information to the students. With these workshops, we offer them live, and we want to let the students participate anonymously and really sort of shape the content we share to what the students are interested in. So to give y'all an idea of what that looks like, I would love to know a little bit more about, we've got 80 attendees here, which is pretty fabulous. I am tossing a link in the chat right now, and you can also just take a picture of that QR code with your phone, or pollev.com/MJA if you would like to type in the URL. But I would love to see where you are joining us from. And I will just give folks a few minutes to snap that QR code. I know this map that you are seeing is very domestically focused. So if you're joining us from outside of the US, feel free to toss your location in the chat. And I'm going to steal some screen, oops, just a sec. I will steal screen sharing from Nora, and then we'll check out this map. Oh, wow. And we've got Canadians. That is so fabulous. Folks from Alaska. I love that. I was in Alaska in 2019 pre-COVID. We've got a whole lot of East Coast. We've got California. We've got Washington. Shout out to the Kansan. I grew up in Kansas. Nora, I'm sure, wants to shout out to the Floridians that she's broadcasting from there. A little bit of everywhere. Ooh, and
I saw someone from Italy too in the chat. So thank you for, I don't even know what the time difference is. So thank you for making the time.
That is awesome. This is, oh my gosh, we have such an amazing, fabulous group of participants. This is just really exciting. So thank y'all for sharing this. Again, great to see where everyone is coming from. And I look forward to meeting everyone just as we have additional sessions throughout the next 2 days as well. I will yield this screen back to Nora. And just to give y'all a little bit idea of how we use that. So it's, oh my gosh, Carmen, it's so nice to meet a fellow Kansan as well. Sorry, minor shout out. But anyway, just to give y'all idea of how we use this map in our actual classes. Nora showed you that employment report that shares, where our students typically head out at the end of each year. And we survey them for that data. This particular screenshot is a class I just taught last month. And you could see we've got that Northeast that we would expect, but we've also got a lot of Florida. We've got a lot of Texas, West Coast, Silicon Valley. Again, some of that, Georgia type Atlanta folk that we'd expect, but a lot of Illinois. And we really love seeing this map because as we're structuring the class, as I'm demonstrating research is live, as I'm trying to demonstrate, here's a different resource you might want to search if you're looking for Silicon Valley, but for those that are focused on Texas, here's another resource you might want. It gives students a nice way to get the benefit of they came to a live class and will use some searches that really do focus on what they're interested in. That said, we know not everyone can come live, so we have some asynchronous options as well, and I will turn to Nora for those.
Thank you. Yeah, so like Melissa said, we have, again, I think you'll see probably a repeated theme throughout our session today, making sure that the students are getting internationally targeted, resources and resources, but also that they're amongst their fellow students in their cohort as well, and just gathering information as part of that broader cohort as well. So one area we try to help facilitate here is all of our business students, all of our undergraduate business students are welcome to attend a business intelligence focused workshop series that we host. And as I mentioned, while we were able to include some targeted international student focused content, we also have just these broader based workshops that are more geared towards just helping everybody in their career search, because it's very daunting. So these are sessions that are open to all of our undergraduate business students. And like Melissa said, some of them are offered live. So again, there's more that interactive content. They have pull everywheres, they can ask live questions. And then we also have a series of workshops that we offer asynchronously via Canvas. So the students can work at their own pace and really, tackle the material on a timeline that works best for them. So again, we've really noticed that there's more to a successful job search than does a company sponsor H-1B visas? Yes, that's important. That's kind of critical for these students, but we also want to make sure that they have that breadth and that well-roundedness to be successful just more broadly in their interviews and their networking and all those other bits and pieces that they have to tackle. So we have a selection of some of the other workshops we offer that are career focused, that again are open for all of our students, but also for our international students. And those include a workshop called Discover Tools for Your Career Search that's offered asynchronously, and it highlights resources around a variety of different topics, but including networking, including interview prep, including developing like call prep questions for interviews and such. We also have one that's connected to identifying companies for internship searches. So, when they're really working to build their target company list and they want to expand and be able to curate those lists, that's another option that the students are open to attend. And then also we offer some that are a little more targeted to specific roles that they might have in the companies after they graduate. So consulting is one of our very top career tracks that a lot of our students are invested in. And so we have a session that's directly related to finding case interview resources and company research tips. So we like to be able to offer, again, that breadth of content, and then also the different modes of content, the asynchronous and the live, to make sure that we're really meeting our students with their different multiple learning styles and allowing them to interact and engage and learn in a way that makes the most sense for them. So one thing that we've recently been exploring, and this is something that Melissa and I have been undertaking, I'd say over the last 2 or so months, is creating some video content as well targeted to our international students. So recently we've created 2 videos that highlight search strategies and key databases for our international students. So the first one is very high level. It provides general information about locating firms. And it also has accompanying tips for how to be successful in this process. So you can see on the screen, we have a screenshot from that video that says, don't pay for lists. This is always one of the major takeaways we want to encourage, emphasize to our students, because there's so many predatory organizations out there that are trying to get their money. And we really want to encourage them. No, you don't have to spend extra money. You're already spending enough on school. We have a lot of resources that can help make sure that you're successful in this process. Our second video is a little more targeted. It goes directly into Going Global, which is a database that highlights companies that sponsor H-1B visas, and it allows our students to filter by geography and job type, the number of years that a company has sponsored H-1B visas, and so they are able to create a really nice curated list based on the criteria that's most relevant to them. So these are new. Again, it definitely took a little bit of trial and error to get them where we wanted them to be, but we've been working really hard on them. And as you can see, we also are incorporating our closed captions, and we go in and we edit all of those to make sure that they're completely accurate. So I'll talk on the next slide a little bit about the process for how we develop those videos. But it's something that we want to keep working on. And both of these videos are less than 5 minutes. Melissa is shooting one into the chat right now. So if you're interested in taking a look, again, we're new to creating these specific types of videos. So if you have thoughts for us, we would be very open to them. But we're hoping that keeping them brief, keeping them, having the closed captioning will make them really helpful for our students. All righty. And I wanted to give just a few tips on how we do this. If that's something you're interested in doing, I'm sure you're all already offering workshops and things of that nature. But if you're new to the video tutorial game, like we were, these are some strategies that we use to help make that process a little simpler. So neither Melissa nor I have really extensive experience with video editing, but we were able to use some free resources and sort of self-learning strategies in order to be more or less, I think, successful with creating these videos. So our first, we all know and love Zoom. Pandemic has taught us well how to use it, but it's been really excellent for conducting really simple recordings, doing a screen share with a nice, voiceover, nothing too complex, but we can walk through a database, walk through a slide deck really simply, doing the Zoom screen recording. The video editing software we've used is both OpenShot Video Editor and then also iMovie. So if you have a Mac, you already have iMovie, pretty simple to use. OpenShot Video Editor is a free open source software that I've used. It has a couple bugs, but it is free. So, and the learning curve is not super duper high, which is great. But these are great just for doing really low level editing. So cutting out ums and uhs, or, if it takes a while to navigate and you want to reduce that time, you can splice really easily. So just, again, pretty low learning curve as far as video editing goes. And then the platform we've been using to host our videos is YouTube. One thing we really like about YouTube is they have this, they auto-generate their closed captions. You can see I have a screenshot here, but then you can go in and edit them for all the various mistakes that they're bound to make, like no auto captioner ever is able to figure out how to spell Goizueta, which is fair, but also things like going global, that's one word because of the company name. So you can go in and really, really quickly go through and make those edits as well to make sure that your captions are as accurate as possible. And we do have a library-wide channel that we share out for YouTube, but you could also do this using your own personal YouTube channel as well and share out unlisted or private videos. So just a couple tips in case this is something, this is something we've recently been exploring at Goizueta, something that could be helpful for other folks as well.
So one more resource guide. And I see there's some questions in the chat about some different tools, and we can chat some more about that when we get to our Q&A. But just to continue a little bit more on the targeting on-demand resources, one place we want to really make sure students can get to is at 3 a.m. We get the emails. We know they're working on their research at that point, even if we won't respond to them at that point. But we want to have a one-stop shop that they can get to all of these recommended resources. So on the homepage of our business library's website, we have right there at the top career services, very important part of while they're coming to school. And this focuses on all the different parts of the job search. So, cover letters, salary negotiation when they get to that point, interviews, and H-1B visas and the international student job search is right there in the middle of that. We intentionally wanted to include it as one of many pieces of a successful job search. It's not out in its own little space as an other option or anything. It's just one of the many steps you need to consider. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, I will toss the link in chat here, and Nora's got a screenshot there. We use this really to put all of the different resources in our videos. We wrap up and say, if you've got more questions, check out our research guides. At the end of our classes, at the end of onboarding, we really try to promote, this is a place, we've got videos, we've got books, we've got spreadsheets you can download. If you want to have a screen reader read this to you, if you want to go back and review something at your own pace, you've got a spot that has all of those different resources so that you can easily access them depending on whatever learning style is right to you. And I will turn it over to Nora for student responses to all of these great things.
Yes. Thank you, Melissa. So what we've been trying to do across, all of these different touch points, all these different methods of connecting with our international students is, of course, get feedback and check out our statistics and look at, attendance numbers just to see, is what we're creating actually resonating with the students. We want to make sure that, we can have these touch points, multiple points during the semester, but we want to also make sure we're being effective, of course, as well. So some of the numbers that we've pulled are based on that H-1B visa workshop. So this is, again, tied to our BBA students. And everything that I pulled here is more or less representative of what we have been seeing over the past few semesters. So we tried to get kind of trends here. So for that specific H-1B visa workshop that Melissa chatted about earlier, we are typically seeing between 15 and 25 BBA students for each of those sessions. And for all of our workshops, not just the H-1B workshop, we ask for student feedback so we can see areas for improvement, things that they liked, things that they didn't like. And we've actually been really pleased with some of the things that they've been sharing with this workshop in particular. So I pulled a few quotes here. So these are from the spring workshop that Melissa offered in March. So I learned how to be resourceful on the internet. There's a plethora of information online that is useful in every aspect. I gained more knowledge about how to look for and filter internship results. Yes, I learned so many resources, and the fact that I don't have to pay to find the best resources online, which I think is my favorite one, because it's definitely hammering home that we got that one point across, that they don't need to pay for extra resources. They already have them through the library. So we also have feedback from our other workshops as well, but since our feedback form we hadn't been parsing out who was an international student and who wasn't, we wanted to really just pull the feedback that was specific to this cohort. And we've also been checking out our statistics on the LibGuide. So that's the link that the main website page goes to when the students are trying to find our videos or looking for those resources. And you can see we have around 300 folks who stopped by those pages from August 2022 to the end of March 2023. So not the entire academic year. I wanted to make sure I was getting solid months, but a good chunk of students are still using that self-paced content, that written content. So we were feeling really positive about that. One thing you'll notice is that there are no statistics here for our videos. That's because they're still very new. And so we wanted to give them a little bit of time to see, how they hit and, what feedback and what responses we were getting. But we will be keeping an eye on not only the number of views, but how long students are watching the videos, which we find to be a very interesting metric and something that guides how long we make future videos. And then also if they leave any comments too, to, give any insights about their thoughts about how the video went. So some of the successes we've encountered through this process of having our onboarding, our workshops, and then all of the standalone content that our students can access is that we really feel like we're able to meet students where they are. So there are multiple touch points across their entire academic career. We have a variety of formats that we're bringing to them. And we're hoping that all of these different formats, all these different offerings are allowing us to accommodate different learning styles. We also think it's very successful to have the targeted international student content in tandem with our general career readiness skills. And then again, having those virtual and synchronous as well as asynchronous as well. So they have a little flexibility there. Again, building in some of just making sure that we have multiple modalities for the different students that we're interacting with. A second huge success we think is we've been able to improve our accessibility across our different content. So we've been really working on getting accurate closed captions for all of our videos, and we make sure that our content is self-paced and it can be revisited like the videos, but also the LibGuide as well. And even those asynchronous Canvas classes can be revisited as well. And then the LibGuide offers direct links and written instructions. So there are all different ways that students can engage with this content that hopefully is allowing them to really get the most out of it.
That being said, there are always ways to continuously improve. Engagement is a big one. We have heard loud and clear via silence in classes when we ask students a question and they don't unmute. And then also just from students when we're chatting in their office, having individual consultations, not all students are comfortable speaking up in class, unmuting, coming up and identifying with questions they have. And we really intentionally do want students to engage in the library in a manner that they're comfortable with. They already are stretched in their classes with, there's participation grades, there's required presentations. So they're certainly not lacking for opportunities to practice those skills. We really want to focus on encouraging them to be comfortable in our library sessions so that they can really focus on the learning outcomes, which is identifying the resources, learning how to use the resources, knowing that there's a huge cohort of students that really they have an additional hurdle. They've got to identify those firms that sponsor H-1B visas, then go through the same job search process as everybody else on top of that. So it's an extra step. And we want to provide all the resources possible and all the, availability in terms of consultations and support sources so that they can be successful in that and just really remove any barriers. The other consideration is just timing, when to introduce resources. And Nora mentioned this at orientation. If we don't mention the resources, we get questions as to what's out there. If we do mention all the resources, they're like, oh my gosh, this is too much. So we've tried really hard to strike that balance between here's what's out there and please come back throughout the semester to learn more and take a deeper dive into those resources that are available. The number of resources to present at an onboarding and also in the workshops throughout the semester. How many is the right number? You can do a deep dive in 3, you can do a higher level, review of 7. When we get the feedback at the end of each class, I ask the students directly in the feedback form, which again is, written and anonymous. What do you like? What do you want to see done differently? What should we never show again? And you'll have some that say too many. You'll have some that say too few. You will have some that say just right. It's difficult to really strike that exact balance. And we're continuing to sort of evaluate where that option and for the right number is. But that again is why we try to have all of these different ways for students to reach out, find the resources, use the resources, and all of these different touch points we're offering via live, via asynchronous, synchronous. We really want to focus on building relationships so that they know there is support out there. They know they've got a librarian team. They've got all sorts of different options throughout the campus community that, we all want everyone to be successful coming up on graduation. So that's really the key learning outcome is we've got all of these great resources. That being said, we have shared a whole lot of resources as to what we've done and what sort of classes we've offered. And as we kind of move into a little bit more discussion, I've got just a couple additional poll everywhere questions so we can level set a bit more as to what has worked for you. And I'm just going to toss that poll everywhere chat the poll everywhere link in the chat. And the first question, just to see, we've got we're at 79, 80 folks here. How often are you offering structured touch points with your international students throughout the year? And I am going to steal screen sharing from Nora and we will find out the answer to this question. And as folks are gathering in here. So so we've got some folks 4 more times. Awesome. We've got some other folks that know structured programming or maybe just once or so. So
big range, but mostly it looks like no structured programming.
Hopefully
Yeah,
folks will have some ideas. Absolutely. So let's jump. I've got one other question or a couple other questions here. Let me activate question 2 just for some brainstorming here. Who have you connected with at your institution? And this is more just kind of an open chat, but are there, again, we have some different departments that we've partnered with. MBA program, excellent. Program offices are great. The Global Initiatives Committee, that just sounds cool.
It does.
We need one.
Oh, student associations. That's excellent. International office. Yeah, I think the ISSS, it has so many S's that is very similar to the international office. Student organizations. And you know what? We haven't really partnered with our student organizations for our international students so much. So that is a really great idea.
I love the idea of the English professor who's taken an interest. So just working with some professors that are advocates, that's a really neat idea. Because some professors, I think, yes, they're definitely championing students. International Students Office, excellent. And yeah, some graduate career office.
Orientation committee.
Yeah. So again, I'm seeing lots of, there's people, there's departments, there's individual advocates. I think, again, the student point is great. So lots of great possibilities. And I'm going to click to our final question. And this is a little bit diving into, I saw there was some questions in the chat just about different tools. And Nora, one of the questions, I think someone had asked about Captivate, and if you'd used that and if that compared to some of the free tools.
Oh, I haven't used Captivate. I'm very we've been really experimenting a lot with the video editing over the last couple of years, not only with this, but also with some video interview series. But I am open to things that are better or newer, or, you know, that are more effective. So that one I have not used yet, but I'd be very open to it.
And I was gonna say,
not free. Yep.
It's, I was gonna say, and why folks are kind of putting some tools and different things in here. I see there's a question about some universities don't indicate on their postings whether positions are sponsored or not. And I will tell you, having worked closely with the MBA CMC at Goizueta for years, there is an entire organization, the MBA CSEA. It's been through a few different acronyms, but it's a career services organization. And there is a lot of differences of opinions, I think, within career centers as to should companies be allowed to say, I don't want to look at the international student population? Is it fair or not fair to not let international students see that? Bigger answer there, I think, just in terms of equity, in terms of knowing the postings availability. Where things, I think, also get very complicated is I've seen a lot of consulting firms. They'll say, for this slice of positions, we are willing to sponsor, you know, H-1B visas. For this slice of positions, we aren't. And on the posting, it'll say something about, we don't sponsor, except for some things, go to this link. And you have to go to that link and really dive deeper. We're a smaller university, and our career center they have the capacity to have someone who really dives into that. Large universities that just, you know, it's a heavy lift to try and dive into those companies and their ever-changing details. So it's a really big, good question that I don't think has a nice, clean, concise answer, but I know folks have strong opinions as to what is the right thing to do and what is not. And I'm just looking as folks I'm seeing LibGuides are the thing to do here. Yeah, Factiva, Camtasia, we've got our Camtasia consultations, Factiva, YouTube. My Visa Jobs. Okay, excellent. And another long URL that, I bet that's the my Visa Jobs, an extra long URL getting word wrapped. But Zoom.
I got a direct message too about a poll, I think for Poll Everywhere. So Poll Everywhere is something that we do use. That's why we wanted to use it in this presentation too, in a lot of those classes, because it gives some anonymous, methods for our students to engage, even if they're not comfortable coming off mute and chatting. So Poll Everywhere, there you can get free license. There's a free version of it, which does have obviously some limitations. Emory recently purchased an Emory-wide license, which is why we have a little bit more utility with it, but there is a free version of it as well. That's been really helpful.
And I'm going to stop share here. It looks like we've got some good questions coming in the chat. So just we can look at those. And I'm seeing there's a question about how closely we work with the career management departments to make sure we're not duplicating efforts. And then do you have different plans with BBA and graduate career services? And I think Nora and I could probably both speak to that a little bit, but I'll just say in terms of the not duplicating efforts, I am a little bit lucky, I guess. There's the good and bad. But when I was hired, is basically 20% of my time is working and attending departments. And it's kind of a dotted line to the Graduate Career Management Center. So I'm at their staff meetings. I teach in a lot of their classes outside of just this workshop series we highlighted today. So I would say the good thing about that is we're not duplicating efforts. We've got 5 minutes, but we also, we have a really good partnership relationship, and it's sustaining that relationship as people transition in and out of the department is its own challenge. And sorry, Nora, I'll yield to you for the BBA part.
Oh yeah, it's similar as well. So there's one I think associate director who handles the international students and develops all of their programming. And she and I work really closely together to make sure that the workshops we're creating are not overlapping with their other efforts. So I think a lot of it's about finding like a champion. If you don't have a whole department to be a champion, finding at least one person to be a champion where you can have those conversations and make sure that your efforts aren't being duplicated. And I know we just have a few minutes left. So if you have other questions, I know we did a little bit of a share, but it went very quickly. But if you'd like to ask any other questions, we'd be happy to answer those as well.
And I see there's some My Visa Jobs and OPT Nation, and I have never heard of that. So thank you I was going to say, this is a great little group brainstorming session as to other resources to take a look at.
Something I saw back up in there was a different software that wasn't mentioned, Screencast-O-Matic or ScreenPal. It's free and easy. I've never tried it, but I didn't know if you all had. Someone typed that in the chat further back.
I haven't tried that one, but we'd be open to it. You know, we've just been using the Zoom because it's been well, we've all been immersed very heavily in it. But yeah, I think we're open to trying some new stuff. I know one thing that one of our graphic design folks is using to do the editing is called Descript, which there's a free version and then there's a slightly more advanced version which helps doing like cutting things out, but it's not for the initial screen capture, it's more for the editing. So it's DESCRIPT, if that's something of interest. It cuts out the ums automatically, which is pretty rad, and even updates your transcript. Any other questions? I hope we didn't miss it.
I was going to say, I saw someone talking about like Indeed and a few other websites, and just in general, I'm seeing also it's difficult to find who is really truly sponsoring or not. That's where that U.S. Department of Labor, and that's in the video, but I always tell students, again, past performance does not indicate future results. But if you type a company in, and again, Coca-Cola is a great example here. Yes, you can find that Coca-Cola has sponsored its 10 IT software positions. So if your MBA marketing goal is Coca-Cola, probably not the right fight at the right time. You know, that's long odds. On the other hand, you type in Amazon and you see they've applied to sponsor, 1,600. That's a cleaner, yeah, it sure looks like they do. So I encourage students to really kind of do that first slice. And then again, if they've got a dream company and it's only sponsored a few, we can sure dive deeper into that and see, is this a possibility or is it just a hard no? But you're right, you can't do that for 20, 30, 50 companies. So really being selective as to, if there's companies that look like great fits that are clearly sponsoring, prioritize those, and then we can step down to some others.
Make sure I didn't miss anything. I think we answered those questions about the different softwares. Yeah, I'm sure with all of you, we don't have a dedicated person who makes videos, so we are really trying to figure it out as we go. But there are some learning curves. Melissa and I always say, oh, it's only going to take 5 minutes, and then it takes 5 hours, sort of thing. So don't lose hope if it takes longer than you think it might for those. LibWizard or similar flowcharty type stuff. I haven't. Melissa, have you used?
I haven't either. We've got a new toy. This is what I love about these presentations.
Yeah, I'm jotting notes down.
I keep jotting notes down when I look down. So.
Oh, Jennifer, you were so right. 1 minute takes 1 hour of production. Yep. There's always another weird hurdle you weren't expecting. Yep. Well, and I want to say, I know we only have 1 minute left, so I'm just going to really quickly share that if you'd like to follow up with us, if you want to chat through any resources, or if you just want to brainstorm or whatever, we would be super happy to talk with you. So these are our emails: melissa.anderson@emory.edu or nora.mckenzie@emory.edu. But we love talking about this stuff. We love figuring out new ways to help support these students. So we'd love to chat with you further to see what's working at your institutions or what's not, and how can we overcome it. So I'll stop sharing that again, but I just want to say thank you so much for all of your time and for your good questions. And you're a very, very interactive bunch, which we really appreciate.
We would like to thank you for presenting. You went first, so you can relax and enjoy the rest of the symposium now. And we appreciate everything. We will have about a 15-minute musical interlude, I think. And then we will begin at the top of the hour for our next session, and hope everyone will join us again.